Are you ready? It's time to start our last Cuties table topper for the January through June book. Hey everyone, Cristin here. So a quick note, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do that. It makes it so much easier. So when you go on YouTube on your phone or on your computer, you look in the notifications and it'll show every time that we have a new video out for you. All right, so we are going to start on the June Cuties, the last one in our book. Oh my gosh, January through June. So did you pre-order the July through December? Don't forget to do that if you haven't already. I'll add a link here. If you click on that link, it'll take you to our sponsor, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and you can order from there. Just in the search bar, type in Cuties 2, and you'll see the options for the book and the CD and the fabric kit and so on. And there's also the thread kit. Don't forget the thread kit. So let's talk about June. So it's on page 17, but I'm mostly going to be talking to you about page 18. So page 18 has the cut guide, and this is our prep video. So it's just going to tell you my suggestions when you start prepping your project. All right, so first, let me just tell you about the thread colors. So there's a list of the thread colors underneath this video, and our sponsor, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, has a thread kit for us. It's got 4 threads in it. They're super pretty colors and different ones than I've used before. I think the only color I added in was the green. There wasn't a green in the kit. It's just a small kit with a few colors. It's a great way to build up your thread stash of glide thread. So there's a list underneath this video of the thread colors that I'm using. And when I say under the video, you just look in the video description, and there's all kinds of information with direct links and information on our upcoming projects and more. So page 18, I'm just going to tell you, so I did finish prepping last night. I prepped all of my packets and got my batting and so forth. I will add a batting sheet of information of batting for each of the projects, and I'll also go over it with every project. So this one is just the prep video, just to give you some keynotes when you're prepping your project. So there are 3, 6, 9. There's 9 fabrics, and then 2 a felt and a leather, and then the buttons for the tops of the ice cream. So right here. So I'm just going to go right down the top and tell you any changes that I have. So the first one is that pink with white stripes. No changes on that. The next one is the corner blocks. So it's a pink star fabric. On that it says 4 pieces at 2.5 by 2.5. Like I've said for the last 6 months, I recommend cutting your corner blocks to 3 by 3 instead of 2.5 by 2.5 if you have enough fabric to do that. And I had exactly enough. So hopefully you do too. And if it's a little short, that's fine, but it just makes it easier because it will do the tack down stitch, and then we can trim around that stitch. So that's the second fabric down. The third one down is the inner borders and binding fabric. So on that one, a few notes. So as I've always said, on the inner borders and the outer borders, I recommend cutting them a little bit longer, really, not wider, just longer, and then we'll cut them down with assembly, because it makes it so that when you're putting it all together, you'll make sure to have enough. It won't be too short. All right, so that's really important. So inner border A, it says in the book 1 3/4 by 10.5, 2 pieces, and I just recommend cutting it to 12 inches instead of 10.5. You'll have extra at the end, and we'll cut it down at assembly like we've done the last 6 months. And then inner border B, it has 2 pieces at 1 3/4 by 13. I recommend 15. I cut mine to 15, the length at 15 instead. And then the next 2 are binding pieces, and those I want to make sure that you don't stabilize them. All right. I definitely stabilize my inner borders, but binding you don't want to stabilize. I have stabilized it by mistake in the past, and it's not a really big deal, but it makes it a little bit harder to make those mitered corners. So what I do is I add a little star on the cut diagrams. I put a little star to remind me, oh yeah, don't stabilize this. First cut these pieces and then stabilize the rest. All right, that's my little tip on what works for me. So on the binding, everything's the same. Just don't stabilize it. All right, and then the fourth one down is our backing fabric, and it says that it's going to be this green petal fabric. In the book it shows that, but that's not what I received, and often the backing fabric is different, and so I just want to point it out in case you get something different. So I got a green silky solid for my backing. All right, great, no problem whatsoever. So I just want to point out that one change in case you got something different as well, so you're not thinking that there was an error. They often change the backing fabric. All right, so green silky solid, and again, don't stabilize that. You don't need to stabilize your backing fabric. Some people do, because we are going to stitch in the ditch, and if you want it to lay even flatter, or you've had some issue with it not laying flat, you could definitely stabilize it if you choose. I don't. Up to you completely. All right, and then the next one down is the white fabric for the triangles. No changes there. The outer borders, just like the inner borders, it is that pink. Let's see, it is this one, and again, I recommend cutting it longer than what it says in the book. So in the book it says 2.5 by 18, 4 pieces, and I cut mine to 20. So 4 pieces at 2.5 by 20 for my outer borders. And like I said before, it just makes it so that it's a little bit easier to make sure that it, just in case the stitching pulls in, or there's some puckering, or anything you measured a little bit off, or your seam allowance is a little bit off. I had it one time, and I learned from that one experience where I got my borders on and they weren't long enough, and that is a big bummer. So I always cut them longer now, and then just trim down when I'm assembling the project. All right, and then let's see, the next few fabrics, no changes, exactly how it shows on page 18. And then for the gingerbread embroidery felt and the French pink embroidery leather, you don't stabilize those. Leave those as they are. And everything else is the same. I do want to point out that there is a directional fabric. So this pink stripe is a directional fabric, but it's not a problem at all, because we use it for our Lazy Daisy background, the center blocks, and they're 7.5 by 7.5. So they're squares. It's not going to matter at this point. There will be a very important tip when we get to the center blocks, but for cutting, it's not going to matter at all, your directional fabric. And that's it. How easy is that for our prep video? Like I said, if you want to get the thread kit, they are available from our sponsor, and there is a link up above here so that you can order your thread kit or your fabric kit. If you didn't get your June fabric kit yet, you want to do that right away. We are going to start this right away. I am going out of town the last few days of the month, and so I'm starting it a little bit early. Might even run through it a little bit faster, but the videos will stay up. You work at your own pace, don't worry. I am taking a break from our current projects though. We are working on the So Happy quilt, by the Oh So Delightful quilt, and the Red, White, and Bloom quilt. I'm working on both of those projects, but I am taking a break from both of those and focusing all of my efforts on this June Cuties. So we will get back to that. So if you are behind, now's your chance to get caught up on those two projects. So one other thing is you're going to want your stabilizer. So we use the Kimberbell light mesh stabilizer. This is for inside of our hoop. And then I'm out of it. I just ran out when I finished prepping my fabrics yesterday. So the Kimberbell fusible backing, we want to use that. This is to stabilize all of our fabrics, and like I said, some of them we don't. The backing and the binding, we don't stabilize those. And then I pulled this, I'm not sure why, wrong one. So this one, the light mesh cutaway, also comes in a long, in case we put more into one hooping and use a larger hoop, then you can use the longer one. It's 20 inches instead of 12 inches. And then this, make sure to get lots of your Kimberbell project batting. I go through this like water, my goodness. So make sure that you've got some on hand. You can see I used a lot. I'm already almost out again. So make sure to have your stabilizer and your batting on hand, and we will get started after you get prepping. And for my workout last night, I did the last challenge. There's iFit is doing this month-long challenge where each week it's a different challenge, and you have to do these 2 certain workouts. And this past week, it was really interesting. Instead of the regular workout, they had these mindful workouts. So they had like a doctor and a theologian working on different techniques. You're still out doing a hike, but you're hearing all these different things. So one thing that I heard, and it actually wasn't through my workout, but which the workouts were great, by the way, really good hikes. I'll add pictures. It was really fun. I love seeing all the different places on iFit that I'll never get to. It was pretty cool. But in this book that I'm reading, I saw there was, if you have a friend that is going through something difficult and you don't know what to say, a good thing was, do you need to be heard? Do you need a hug? Or do you need help? And I thought that was so good. Like if you're stuck on, and like someone is going through something and you don't know how to help, there's, different instances, of course. And I thought that was so good. Help, hug, or be heard. I thought that was really cool. So anyway. And my shirt today is my Kimberbell shirt. How cool is that? Experience the joy of creativity. This is available on the Kimberbell website. I assume that they still have them. I've had this for a couple years, I think, actually, and I have 2 of them, and I use them. I wear them pretty often, actually. I received one from one of our sponsors, and I received one directly from Kimberbell, so that was pretty cool. So anyway, but you can purchase them on the Kimberbell website, or at least you could. So check out the Kimberbell website. I assume they still have them. I'm not absolutely sure, but it's a great shirt. I love it.